Is This Secure? It's a podcast about tech. I'm Michael. He's Curtis. Hey, babe.
Hello. This intro has been written by AI. I'm excited to be here.
You know, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself in that I installed Windows 11 on this machine a couple of days ago just because I get bored. It's the same reason I bounce back and forth between Android and iOS. I get bored. There's no valid reason for these things. I get
That's
bored.
all you need.
This is probably some sort of character flaw, and based on the personality profile people have assembled of me as a result of my online presence going back to 2008 or so, that's just one more data point to put in there. That he gets bored with mobile device platforms and switches them capriciously and arbitrarily. So I installed Windows 11 a couple of days ago, and when I had Windows 10 on here, I had an application, and I can't remember what the name of this damn thing was, but it was an AI music generator. And it even had stations that you could listen to of various genres, and some of them were actually like kind of respectable. There was one that was like background piano music, and I tuned this thing in. And I'm listening to use the verbiage of my grandparents' generation, by the way. I tuned it in and
Dialed in and yeah.
I could actually, what I was hearing, envision that just being lightly played in the background where you're having a dinner party or something. I mean, it was actually respectable. They had an EDM genre. I mean, there was a lot of crap.
Was it a lot of electronic music?
A lot.
Or,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
I mean, like when I'm developing or I'm trying to think through a complex task, like my notes for today's show, I'll play that kind of music, like something that doesn't require my active listening of lyrics and whatever emotions someone's trying to put into a song, and my brain's trying to process that. Instead, just play electronic music in the background. Is that EDM technically is what that's called, or is EDM a specific? This is how out of date I am.
Well, I don't really know.
What's the title of EDM?
I don't know. It's just EDM, and I pressed play, and I heard a bunch of electronic music playing.
You were at a rave, you woke up.
I heard a bunch of electronic music with sawtooth waveforms playing. That's all I know to tell you. Let's hear the kids give it that sort of an explanation. You're not going to get the word sawtooth, I promise you this. Anyway, take a look at our website, isthisSecure.com. The issue with the incomplete episode downloads, we think, is resolved. Curtis, do I really need to re-upload all those shows?
Well, no, I guess what I was saying is re-upload anything that had failed that you were still trying to get to it. Well, not re-upload everything. It's too late. No, yeah. So it's fun when I own the site and I have to go ask for permission or I have to go ask for access to be able to change the settings for what I need. I love how these hosting providers, and it's not unique to the one we're using right now, which may be our long-term provider. Depends on if they ever want to sponsor us. And after I say this, they probably won't. But we're using Hostinger right now. But like it's like a Squarespace or anything like that tries to dumb down the experience for you to the point to where you don't have to know anything about it. But the moment there's a problem and you want to go tweak a setting, you have to like beg them to give you access to it. And now I have access to everything. So it's fine. And so I made the changes, and now we need to see does it actually resolve it. And if it doesn't, then next episode it will be hosted by somebody else. We'll find out. But,
well, with the tens of listeners that we currently have, I think the current host probably will suffice, but for the configuration difficulties. But once you're past that, as far as just having the resources to do what we needed to do, I think it'll be fine. But yeah. Anyway, so prior to the show, we were talking about printing issues. I use this printer plugin called Print Friendly and PDF. And so what it does is you got a page, you want to print it out, you hit this little button up by the address bar, and it produces essentially what's a reader version of the website. So all the photography's removed, all the ads. It's just beautiful, clean text. And this thing crapped out on me. And so Curtis and I started to get into a conversation about all the printer problems that he has at his house. And I had to stop him. I'm like, Curtis, this is the show.
Right.
You would not believe how many times this happens when Curtis and I connect on the feed and we start just like bantering back and forth prior to actually doing the show. 10 minutes into it, it's like, dude, we just wasted like actual content here.
That's good content, man.
That could have been used for the show. So I just stopped him midstream. And you mentioned something about a Raspberry Pi. Reboot what you were about to say, please.
Okay, so I'll just go back to the start. And before I do that, like I just want to mention, I think almost every conversation we have, we could just start a recording, and that's an episode most likely. Because like the best part of when you and I get together to talk, like when you said that you're talking show content there, I realized we fill up so much content that like if you hadn't prompted for this, we would have gone so many other directions. It all works out, but going back to the start, for all the stuff that you might think that I'm tech savvy on, like I know how to tear apart DeskJet and laser printers and fix them, and I understand basically how they're all built. But my family, we have a DeskJet HP printer, like the built-in scanner, Wi-Fi access, all of that. It's an older printer by today's standards, but anyway, it works whenever I need it. Like I've never had a problem connecting wirelessly, wired over my network, USB, it all works for me. But my family, whether it's my wife or children, or the random people who come over to my house just to print something, it never works, ever. Like, and it's always an emergency and last minute, and I have to get involved. So someone needs to print something for school, and it's the morning before it's due, and they can't connect to it. So I always have to go deal with it to try to get the thing to connect. And I don't do anything special. I do your standard troubleshooting things. I restart it. I restart the device. I plug it in USB, whatever I have to do in that scenario, depending on the device. I get it running. Well, one of the things that I've been observing is my family never uses the color inkjet part of it. It's always black text that they're printing from, and we would burn through it so much, and that stuff's not cheap anymore. So I have been looking for a laser printer, and so I've been researching to find the best laser printer, just black laser printer or grayscale that I could get that basically has strong reliability is what I care about, and a built-in network print server. And in that process, I happened to be at a thrift store. I don't know if Goodwill is a national brand, but I was at a Goodwill, and they had a Samsung laser printer, and it was $25. Not only that, but right beside it was a box of toner, a two package box of toner for $5. So $30, I would get the printer, and it had toner in it too. And I checked, and the toner was seemingly full. So I bought all of it for $30, brought it home. And I'm like, if it doesn't work, I don't care. And it was just fine. Like there's no problems with this thing. So I'm thinking, okay, I've been thinking for a while that I wanted to set up a Raspberry Pi print server, and I had an old Raspberry Pi 0W, which is the smallest board with Wi-Fi that they sell.
Now, can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
Explain to the listening audience what a print server is.
Yeah, so a lot of times when you're buying a printer that either has Wi-Fi print or has an Ethernet port on it, that's a print server. But in the old days before this technology had been simplified to the level it is now, it used to be for larger corporate printers or network printers in an office, you would have something called a print server. And it's basically a small server device that's connected to the printer and connected to your network, and it's managing all the print jobs and all the settings on the printer. So your IT team can remotely manage that printer, or at least over the network manage it. They can set up all the permissions for people on this side of the building can print to this printer, and people on the other side of the building can print to a different printer. All of that could be controlled over the print server. So it's basically taking all those settings that you go to locally on it and making it network accessible. And this used to be a big deal to get set up with your printer like it. Now it's been...
So with the advent of printers being TCP/IP capable, this kind of obviated that. Am I right?
It just got built in. So rather than have devices that did it, it's a built-in trivial thing now to add to it. But when you're doing that, you have to, so like it's trivial and there's standards built into it, but all these manufacturers implement their own version of it. So HP still wants you to use the HP app. Samsung wants you to use theirs. Brother wants you to use their app. And that really annoys me. I want one simple interface I can use, and that when I go to my Apple devices, those can use AirPrint to find the device. And my old HP printer doesn't have any of that capability. It was, like I said, it's a little bit older, but so I've been thinking for a while. I wanted to make that a network printer, like with my own interface. And there's a standard called Cups. I guess I wish I could remember what that stood for. Let me see if I can remember. I can't remember.
Computing Unlimited Print Properties Service.
It is Common Unix Printing System. You are so close, I'm sure. But yeah, so I was
trying not to be. I was trying to give you the stupidest definition possible.
Well, that's the great thing about tech is you could be totally off base, and as long as you sound like you know what you're talking about, you're covered. But so I was going to set that one up like that, because with the Raspberry Pi, these small single board computers, they're basically a few cores. Well, you can get all the way down to a single core, but the later Raspberry Pis are multi-core, but they're typically low-cost devices that you can use for one task really well. Once you start to do multiple threads and different applications on it, you could really max out one of these things quickly. And since 2020 and the chip shortages, I don't know if you've noticed, but tonight I'm going to be shipping words like crazy. But with the chip shortage, these things went through the roof. It used to be $35 would get you the Raspberry Pi single board computer, which has everything you need to run a computer except for storage. And so you would put a micro SD card in it, plug it into power, and you're good to go. So like your price goes up to about $50 maybe for power supply and SD card or micro SD card for the newer ones. And you would have this little computer that could run a print server, or it could be an audio device that you connect to speakers like an Alexa or Google or HomePod. Simple things like that. As long as you kept it to a simple process, you'd be good to go. So when I got this printer, I thought, okay, this is the moment I'm going to work on it to make both of my printers connect to the Raspberry Pi and be network capable through the Cups interface and a web interface that I manage, so I don't have to have any of these other apps installed on my phones. And it works great. So like my HP printer that sucked, for some reason my family still uses it, but now they're using it through the Cups server, and it works every time. So like I could have saved myself years of frustration if I had just went ahead and implemented this project back then. I shouldn't have waited until I got the laser printer. But the nice thing about it is that you're in charge of what's happening with it. So I could set rules up now, just like I mentioned, your IT person could set up rules to say you can only print these times of the day or this many pages. Like I can control all of that directly.
Well, that's pretty nice. Do you know what the model number of the Samsung printer that you bought is off the top of your head?
No, I need to. The computer I'm on right now, I just reloaded. So ironically, I was on Windows 11 on this computer, and I just restored it to Windows 10 yesterday.
Like Curtis and I had a planned inversion, and it happened at exactly the same time.
It was so annoying, though. So I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I've got my what was my son's old gaming laptop is now my Windows laptop, and it's a Razer Blade 13 2022 edition. 2020 edition, not 2022. It's still a decent computer, but when he gave it to me, I reloaded it, and I thought I'm going to go ahead and reload it with Windows 11. And I should have known what I was doing. I mean, I did know, but I didn't care at the time. I created my own boot install USB drive, which is now super easy to do too. Like Microsoft walks you through the process. I installed Windows 11, and like I typically would do on any other computer, I wiped out all the partitions. And when I did that, I wiped out the recovery partition. And Razer makes it such a pain to get the image back to restore it. So when I got and to make drivers available, so I get to Windows 11 everything is working great. The laptop is doing everything I want it to. And I decide, okay, I've got an older gaming laptop now. I want to install a game on it, and I want to try Elden Ring. And that's going to be the game I'm going to use. So I look at the specs for it. I see that the mobile video card that I have is right at the acceptable level, not what they recommend, but it's playable. And I check in my device manager just to double check that what I thought the video card was is it, and the drivers aren't there. Like all it shows is my Intel Iris, which is the built-in motherboard video card. It's not the gaming card or video card that's also included. And I noticed that there's all these other devices missing. So when that happens, typically you would just go to the manufacturer's website and you would find all the drivers there and you download them, or you'd use Windows Update to just do it for you in the background. That's when I find out that Razer, for their laptops and desktops, do not make the drivers available for everything. So I have to either go download the NVIDIA drivers. I think it's a 1650 video card is what's in this. Download that. So I try that, and it wouldn't recognize it. There was a network card not recognized. Thunderbolt wasn't working exactly the way I wanted it to. Connecting to their own device. I have an eGPU from Razer as well, and it would connect but not access the video card in it, which is the whole point of the thing. So I'm getting really annoyed, and that I finally jumped through all the hoops to get downloaded the recovery image creation tool again, and find out that I have to have a 16 gig USB drive, and all of the ones I have around that are accessible are 8 gigs. So I had to go buy a bigger drive, which those things are so cheap now compared to what they used to be. Get it downloaded, get the image burned to it, reload it, and then I realized that I didn't check to see if there was a Windows 11 image available, and I'm back to Windows 10, and then I finally, after the fact, go check, and yeah, all I can do is I'm locked into the vendor's original Windows 10 version. They don't have a Windows 11 recovery image, so I'm back to Windows 10.
I'm just looking here. I have a utility that I picked up here it is. It's saved in my Google Drive as driverbackup.zip. It's called Double Driver. And if you know you're about to do a clean Windows install, all you do is you run this utility, and it actually extracts the drivers for every item in the device manager, the Windows device manager. It extracts the drivers and places them in folders that are named identically to each item in Device Manager, and then saves it to whatever format you want. I think it gives you the option of having it laid out in folders, or it gives you the option of compiling an executable that actually installs them for you on the other end after you get the OS reinstalled. And it's really handy. I'll put a link to this in the show notes, if you will, or
yes.
on the website and on the YouTube upload. I'll put it in the holy shit, I can't talk tonight.
You know what? This problem too.
This is what happens. Well, you know what? My 7-year-old daughter is getting sick, and I don't ever let that cause me to stay away from them. You know, if they want to hug me and kiss me and all that stuff, I don't shy away just because they're sick. I'm like, you know what? It's my kids' germs. I'm just going to let them hit me however they're going to hit me. If I get sick, I'm going to get sick. If I don't, hey, guess what? Lucky day. You might stay away from them and get sick anyway. Or maybe they're not sick at all and you get sick somehow, somewhere. I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason, it seems to me, to how this stuff happens, but I can feel it. I think it's getting me. But plus, after having worked all day, too. That's the big disadvantage for people like you and me who don't do this as their primary occupation. You work all day, and then, like, at this moment, I should probably be considering going to bed, but instead I'm podcasting. And, I mean, it's a fun hobby to have, but boy, is it a commitment sometimes. And so anyway, it's called Double Driver. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, there's an old version of a program similar to that I would run on systems before I would do, like, let's say I would get a system that would come in that my team would manage, and actually, let me backtrack on that to start from where we'd get a call for like someone says my computer's acting up or I've got a virus, whatever. We'd remote into it, see, yeah, you screwed this thing up with a virus. Technically not covered under the warranty, but we can reload it.
Did you use that terminology as well? Yeah, you really screwed this thing up.
Oh, totally. No. Well, it depends.
I hope you did.
Well, sometimes it depends on the customer, because like this was the great thing about an old life I had when I was a network administrator, was some of my client base knew they screwed up, and they knew how they screwed up, and they just owned it. And that person would call in and say, all right, one of two things. I was on LimeWire on my office computer and I got a virus. And you'd be like, yep, okay, I got it. I'll take care of it. This is what it's going to cost. Like, it's not covered, but here's what it's going to cost. We don't need to jump through all these hoops. Like you told me, it's done. Or the other variation of that, the good path is, all right, I was downloading porn and I got a virus. You're like, all right, enough said. We'll take care of it. Just this is what it's going to cost. And then you'd have the people who'd say, I came in today and I logged into the computer, and while I was trying to work on a spreadsheet and talk to my boss, for some reason my computer started acting up and the mouse wouldn't click on what I told it to, and browser windows kept popping up. I don't understand what happened. This computer, I only use it for spreadsheets. It doesn't do anything else. I don't understand. And then you log into it and you see LimeWire and they downloaded porn and they did whatever, and their machine got screwed up. It's like, dude, just be honest. You know, I don't really care. Like, I'm not here to judge you for what you did on your computer. I'm here to get you off the phone as quick as I can and have you back to doing spreadsheets. And whatever else you're doing, I don't care about. So,
I judge people. I'll call them up and I'll be like, do you know that in Leviticus chapter 19, verse... No, I don't do that.
Yeah, what I would say is go to the command prompt, type in salt. Now turn around, and it'll all be good. But yeah, so regardless, the protocol was, how savvy are you? Because I'll either send you a hard drive and you'll swap out the hard drive and your machine will be up and running at a base image from it, and then you just start working again. We can remote into it and do the rest of it, or ship it back to me. I'll reload the whole thing, and then you'll get it back. You'll log in and just go. And I had a program like that in those scenarios where like I'd profile the computer to get all the drivers, get the versions of all the programs that were installed, and it was just easy to get it back up and running. But like, you know, when you do a job, like, or you help teach other people how to do a job, there's certain things that bring you like that you don't realize at the beginning are going to bring you joy that do later. And one of the things that brought me joy was the idea that your computer, when you logged into it, not counting like the virus or the LimeWire or Napster or whatever website you went to that got your computer infected. So forget that part of it. But the rest of it, that once you give me your computer to reload and you log back into it, everything is exactly where it used to be. Like you go to Outlook and your quick drop down select would have all like the last email that you had selected. Little things like that like brought me lots of joy to know that like I could take someone's computer that's screwed up, however got screwed up. It could even be a hardware failure, their hard drive starting to die and sectors are going out on it, and I could get that machine profile right back to the exact same level it was before, minus whatever issue, and they wouldn't even realize it. Like I could have come in the middle of the night and swapped out their computer and they wouldn't have known it. It was like that, such a great feeling to be able to do that. And it's not something that like, it's not in the manual, you know, it's something that you have to feel your way through learning, you know, what are the little details. How do you feel about that, Michael?
Well, how I feel is I want to know why it is on Windows 11 that in the taskbar I am forced to combine taskbar items. You know, in Windows 10 and every version of Windows below in the taskbar, let's say I have 3 instances of Microsoft Word open with a different document in each instance. I'll have 3 separate items down there in the taskbar, one for each of them. It makes navigating the OS so simple, stupid easy, and Microsoft has decided in all of its infinite wisdom to take that option away. And not only have they taken it away, there's not even a registry hack you can do. There's nothing you can do. I even downloaded a utility last night that allows you to enable tens of thousands of hidden features in Windows. And even in that thing, I forget what it's called, but even in that thing, you can't do it.
Is it from that computer that does like the the Borders program, because typically they're the ones who capitalize on it. I can't think of the name of
It's
it.
some freeware thing that I downloaded on GitHub. It's not like a for purchase product. But like if you're wanting to, for instance, have a floating search bar on the desktop in Windows 10, that's an experimental feature that hasn't been pushed mainstream yet, but it is hiding in your OS, and you can enable it with this utility. It does things like that. But I think it's getting to the point where I'm actually going to have to go back to the old days of like Start 8 when Windows 8 came out and they introduced the Metro interface, where they just decided they were going to shove a touch interface down everybody's throat, whether you wanted it or not, because Microsoft has decided that that's the way things are now, just as the movie industry for a period of about 2 years decided everybody wants 3D on their home TV. So when you go buy a TV, you're not going to just get a TV, you're going to get a bunch of stupid glasses that make you look like you probably ought to be wearing a helmet and riding a questionable bus everywhere you go. You can't just get a TV anymore. You're getting all this peripheral crap with it. So Microsoft kind of got stuck in a rut similar to what the TV industry and the movie industry got stuck in around 2010-ish. And so they shoved this Start 8, and I'm sure everyone remembers the start screen that you would get in Windows 8. Everybody hated it.
It was not everybody, the Windows, because that's Windows Media Center. They basically thought everyone wanted Windows Media Center to be the actual interface, which was what Metro was.
Yeah, it was called the Metro interface, and you could get to the typical Windows desktop, the classic Windows desktop, but you kind of had to know how to do it. And if the tile that took you to the Windows desktop happened to be deleted from that Metro interface, if you weren't like a savvy computer user, you would just be screwed. You would just be wrecked. So in order not to have to deal with that at all, there was a third-party utility that you could install called Start 8, and it would give you back the classic Windows start menu and essentially eliminate the Metro screen from your life. You would never see it again, and it made Windows 8 a very usable version of Windows, and at the same time you got to take advantage of all of the enhancements, some of which were very appreciable in Windows 8. Well, I'm coming to the conclusion that with Windows 11, unfortunately, it's looking like I'm going to have to install a similar third-party utility. And I cannot believe that this is how things still are. Like, a guy like Steve Ballmer goes away from Microsoft, and you think that the days of stuff like this happening are over with. You know, they're installing a feedback utility in Windows. It comes pre-installed so that you can directly complain to Microsoft. So you see stuff like that, and you think, well, the days of this giant corporate behemoth not listening to its customers, particularly its consumer end customers, those days must be over. They must be listening to what people want now. And they're not. People have been pissing and moaning about this for 2 years now, and you still cannot separate items on the taskbar. So no matter how many instances of Chrome I have, they're combined into one Chrome icon. The only way you can see these items is to physically move the mouse pointer and hover it over that icon. And it's like such a deal breaker of a problem, because otherwise I'm okay with Windows 11 here. I don't have any problem with anything I'm encountering in this OS other than all the bullcrap I had to turn off before I started actually using this. But short of this, it's okay. I can deal with this OS.
Okay, so there's one deal breaker for me in it, and I'm similar to you, but my problem is different. So I like to go to computer management a lot, and the fact that I have to now do 2 clicks to get to it, because it used to be you could right-click on this PC on your machine, and you would see Manage come up on the right-click context menu, and there you go. You're in computer management, which I use the command line a lot, so it's not that big of a deal, but I do find myself going there regularly. And now you have to go to other options or other settings. I forget. It's something like that. And then you get then it expands the menu out to where you now see Manage. Is it that hard to just put Manage where it's always been?
What's the executable, the MSC command?
To get to that,
yeah.
It's
not GP edit. That's group policy.
No, it's CPT MG, maybe. Oh man, I've typed it so many times. Now I got to just type it out in muscle memory.
No, that's not working.
No, it's
you can do
hold on, I'll just go.
COMP.
I was getting close. Like I had some of the letters right. If it was Wordle, I would have been helped by the second.
Okay, so you can just hit the Windows key and type that. I mean, if that's your thing.
You can. But like if I'm in Windows Explorer, and like I almost always have Windows Explorer pinned to one of the sides of a monitor, so like I would just go right click from there. Like
that's how I always did it too.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm obsessed with keyboard shortcuts, and before we started, I mentioned that I'm very obsessive about monitors. So like I typically have.
You can still do this. Oh, I see. You're saying that you have to go to the show more options.
Show more options is it?
Yeah, there it is.
Which is annoying. Yeah, like why?
There's a way to get rid of that new context menu though.
But it's annoying. Like it's just like you were saying. Like why do I need to use something to do it? That's not that complex.
Well, no, I mean, like, there's a command in Windows to permanently get rid of this new context menu so that you don't have to do show more options, but I don't remember what it is. Maybe it's you hold down Shift. Yeah, hold down Shift and right-click, and that gives you the classic.
That's annoying.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Why can't I just have it always do that? And I don't like the little icons they have at the top. Like, I got confused between copy and paste. Yeah.
I guess what bugs me is we were promised with Windows that Windows 10 is the last operating system they're ever going to do, and they'll just iterate on it, making it better and better.
Microsoft claims they never promised that, but I know everybody thought they did.
I mean, I've talked in past podcasts we've been in before too when they said that they weren't going to do any more 9X. So back in the day, there was the consumer 9X version of Windows, and then there was the NT-based corporate version of Windows, which was more stable and better memory management, all of that. So Microsoft claimed we're doing away with that separation. We're going to drop the 9X with Windows 2000 is going to be the beginning of one operating system for all. And then at that point, I was a beta tester for Microsoft, and so I would join all their calls where they would tell you, here's the stuff we're going to be testing. And they announced, this is right after recently I'd gotten the message about everything in this, we're dropping the 2. That's like the big thing they were promoting. Then I joined the conference call to find out about the next thing we're going to be testing, and they're promoting Windows Millennium, which is the next version from Windows 98 instead of Windows 2000, which was supposed to be the replacement. And I remember everyone on the call who wasn't muted just going, like, what are you talking about? Like that, like you literally just had a big marketing push of saying that there's no more 9X versions. And now we're sitting on a call about you guys have been sitting here developing Windows 98's next version instead of just moving everyone to Windows 2000. And Windows Millennium was a complete failure. It was the first version of it that I had was terrible. I'm trying to think if that one was called Longhorn, whatever it was called. It was ridiculously bad. And very quickly, everyone hated it, and that's when people started to move to Windows 2000, and then that ushered in the era of Windows XP, which I think we all can agree that Windows XP Service Pack 2 is the best operating system that Microsoft has ever developed.
As you were talking there, I installed something called Explorer Patcher, and
that sounds safe. Is this secure? I'm not going to recommend that application for anybody. Instead, what I would recommend for you to do is go ahead and send to Michael and myself $100 through PayPal. That it's much easier all around for everybody.
Well, and now I have. Oh, okay. Now I have. This is nice. Okay, I've got separate items on the taskbar now. This is nice. This is from GitHub. That's nice. Okay. But the Windows Start menu does nothing when I click it. So,
well, you know, it's the cost of doing business.
Look, you can have one or the other. You think you're going to have both. You're just a fat, spoiled American. Stupid Western problems.
Isn't it ironic, though, that like...
Oh, there's the Start menu. but it looks like the
You
Windows
had to
11
shift
start
click,
menu.
didn't you?
No,
You
it
had to
just
shift click.
it just suddenly started working, but it's the Windows 11 start menu.
The Windows key will only work if you plug in an Apple keyboard and you hit the Command Shift then 3-finger gesture.
You know what? I really wish your buddy that bought the Mac Mini from me. How's that working out for him? Is he happy with it?
Oh yeah, it's great. So like it is exactly the sweet spot for the application he was using.
Okay, okay. Well, let me just ask, how is it that he's not pissed off about the monitor flickering? Because I could not get that to stop happening. Everywhere I looked, millions of people are having the same issue. It looks like it's a problem with the M1 chipset. I went through 3 brand new displays ordered off of Amazon. None of them would alleviate this issue. I changed a million settings. I read a million forums. There was nothing I could do. And it's particularly bad when you're looking at a website in the browser and there's a portion of the website that's dark. The flickering just... I wish I could have gotten around that stupid issue because I would be sitting here on that Mac Mini right now.
So were you plugging in through HDMI?
Yes.
Or okay.
And I also tried it through the Lightning port. Or what Thunderbolt. I also tried it through the Thunderbolt port. It's something weather related. That port. I did it through that as well.
The storm
Same
in the port.
issue.
Okay, so what kind of resolution were you running at? Was it
native
1920 by okay.
Whatever's native. The first well, one of them was a very nice, beautiful curved 4K display. And the fact that it did it on that one, oh my God, that just was such a kick to the beanbag. I have to tell you.
Yeah, that sucks. So I have a 4K monitor too. Like I've got a Samsung. It's not curved. And I can tell you that my Lenovo laptop has the same kind of problem. I had to buy HDMI cables that have the ferrite cores on both sides. That's the only, like, it's a cable problem for me. Because like my monitor will do the same thing, but that Mac Mini, I use it regularly too. So I use it for the same application for presentation. So there's times I go to where it's connected and I'll use that computer, and it's never had a problem. So like it's running. There's the main monitor on HDMI, and then it's got a VGI, a USB-C to VGI connection too, and then it also plugs into a Blackmagic design through Thunderbolt. To output 4 displays through SDI. So it's got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 displays connected to it. And I've never seen a hiccup once.
You know, when you sell something to somebody, you don't want to hear that they're having problems with it. So in that regard, I'm happy to hear that your friend is happy with it. But it really simultaneously just pissed me right off when you told me how happy he was with it. Because no matter what I did, I could not get rid of this issue. And I'm telling you right now, you just do a Google search, Mac Mini M1 flickering. It's everywhere. There are countless videos on YouTube about it. Everyone is having this problem. It's a chipset. There's something about the graphics chipset in that stupid M1 that caused this problem. Apple's done nothing to address it. Apple is silent.
Well, they hobbled that one too in terms of displays. So like because I had to help get the second display working through VGA because that chipset is so hobbled that you can't plug in multiple monitors to it. I think maybe you could plug in 2, but you start to struggle after that. So like the extra outputs that it has are specifically for production.
Well, wait a minute. Can't you go Thunderbolt into monitor number 1 and then daisy chain through DVI from there?
No, the chipset's limited. So like the M1 on the first Mac Mini, which is what that one was, and the first through the first M1 MacBook Air and the 13-inch Pro, you were locked into only 1 extra display. So 2 total displays, and if you're on a laptop or the Mac, the iMac, that was your first display.
And they couldn't be like daisy chained over DVI like that. One of them had to be plugged into HDMI and the other into Thunderbolt. Is that how it had to be?
Well, you couldn't get that to work because all of Apple in the past, it sort of depended on your video card, but it was using Display Link to make things work, and they didn't include all that. So on the M1 chipset, part of what makes it so good is everything's bespoke on it. So every chip that's on it and every execution set that it has, they decided that's what makes ARM so special. Is it doesn't have like x86 and 64-bit Intel chips. One of the benefits to them is they have execution sets that are huge and run a ton of different applications, so they're multi-use. Well, ARM, when it was like ever since the beginning of ARM, and that's what a Raspberry Pi, to call back to earlier too, is an ARM chipset. You only put the execution sets that you want, so it can't do anything that you haven't defined it to do. Well, when M1 came out, that's the big thing that it did, was they controlled everything. So display drivers and display functionality, they controlled it very closely, and they failed on that because they locked everybody in to a few monitors. Now, people did find ways to get around it, but
So you telling me that was my problem? I used the wrong monitors?
no, not the monitor, just the amount of monitors.
I used
Like
one,
that's where the
though. I mean, I used one.
No.
These are
Yeah, I
modern,
think,
out-of-the-box, beautiful monitors. I didn't buy
Yeah.
cheap shit either. I mean, it just... This
Yeah,
this whole Apple ecosystem, you plug things in and it just works, you know what? Blow me. You people who
it
go
does work
around
if you get
saying
a-
that stuff about Apple, blow me! Because it is not true. And I'm not a slouch when it comes to getting tech set up.
So that's your problem. You're thinking that you live in a Steve Jobs world, and you don't anymore.
That's
Tim
it.
Cook
That
doesn't care
really
about
is
that.
it. That is it. Is it not? That is
Mhm.
it. This would not have happened in the Steve Jobs era.
Somebody would have been sacrificed for that.
Hell,
just
even
say-
Microsoft fired Steven Sinofsky for Windows 8. I mean,
Yeah.
even Microsoft was willing to acknowledge their failings and fire people over it. I guess at
Oh, yeah.
Apple, no, we don't fire people here. We coach.
You know, really quick, to go back to that computer, I find this super ironic. that replaced a Mac Pro. So, like, do you remember the trash can Macs?
Yeah.
So before that, so that was doing presentation software is what it's doing, and that the Mac Pro that it had before, that had worked great for years, and it had Intel Xeon processors, I think 6 cores, top of the line video card for the time it came out, like a very expensive Mac Pro. And the latest version of the software that they used for presentation is called Pro Presenter. When they came out with the latest version, they optimized it for the M1, and it did not run, like, it maxed out everything of that computer. It could work, but like, so think about like a PowerPoint presentation. It's like a bigger version of PowerPoint presentations is what it's doing. Well, specifically what it does is, like, for a church or band that's performing and you want lyrics up on the screen and videos playing and stuff. So that's what it does. So, like, you would advance the slide to the next lyric, and it would be like 8 seconds after you advanced it before it would actually display. That's how bogged down, like, the video card, the CPU resources were through the roof, like 100%, everything pegged.
And
So,
that product, that software shipped in that condition. Somebody decided that was acceptable. Okay.
Yeah. So switch it out for that machine technically is a powerhouse. Swap it out for the lower end Mac Mini M1 that you had. The thing runs like it's $1 million because it's optimized for it. It's ridiculous. And so that other computer, like, it's now just being used as a desktop computer to surf the web and do spreadsheets. You know, it's not nowhere near which those computers are at the end of their life, just because all these applications, whether it's like Adobe, like that thing, I used to use it to render out. So, like, it's connected on the network, and I would send video jobs to render to that computer over the web when it wasn't being used, like in its off hours. And my computer would take hours to render a video, and that thing would do it in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it can't do presentation software anymore, and it can't do that rendering anymore on the later versions of Adobe because they're optimizing everything for the newer stuff. But there's no reason it should be slow.
If I were to get an M2 Mini, the new Mini, am I going to run into the same bull crap?
I mean, it's a better, like, they learned some of their lessons. So they've opened up the video piece of it. Like, if you get one, don't get the base model. Get the M2 Pro Mac Mini because that one. So the problem is M1, that's the consumer. M1 and M2 are the consumer lowest end chipset. They feel super fast and most everyone would be happy with it until you get into a little bit more advanced stuff. So the moment you are doing anything 3D, doing multiple monitors, any kind of thing that relates to gaming, then you want the M2 Pro or M1 Pro. Like the Max is great, but I think most people are going to get away fine with the Pro version. But
do they even make a Mini with the M1 Pro? I don't think they do.
Maybe they don't. The Studio is when they switch to that. You're right. The Mac Studio is where they introduced the Pro and Max chips.
Yeah, I'm right, Curtis. Let's get it together. Okay.
You're correct. But with the new Mac Minis, which the ironic thing is you can get an M2 Mac Mini for $100 less than the original M1 version, which that never happens with Apple, that they reduce the price. But if you're going to get a Mac Mini, which I think they are great, get the M2 Pro and don't even think about the M2 base.
What off the top of your head? You don't look it up if you don't know, but I mean, do you know what the price difference is between the M2 Pro and the M2?
Okay, so this is just off the top of my head. I believe it's like $750.
That's the difference.
Well, no, sorry, no, it's about $200. I think it goes from $549 to $749. Now let me look it up and see how wrong.
That's actually surprisingly minuscule. I mean, if you're really getting something that's going to be higher end, considerably higher end, particularly where video is concerned, I don't know, man. I'm just scared to dip my toe in this pool again and have these same issues and be looking to unload yet another Mac Mini.
Well, I'll be ready to buy it when that happens.
Well,
okay, let me see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice insurance policy for me to have, but I mean, I hate
you know how close I was.
I hate to just rely on that.
Right.
Curtis will buy this if I don't like it.
Well, there's other problems too. Like you got rid of yours like at a good time, because if you had held on to it for 6 more months, the value's tanked. So like one thing, let me come back to that though. Let me just brag for a moment. The base model Mac Mini M2 is $599. I thought they had moved them down to the $49 and not $99, but they're still at $99. So $599 is the base.
So what's that? 8 gigs of RAM and 256 storage?
Yes. You go up to the next one, which gets you to the Pro level, and that's $799. So I was
pretty reasonable.
I was $50 off between them. Yeah, I mean, what you get for $800 is pretty good. Like I would get 16 gigs on it, so you're going to bump up now closer to 900, but you're going to be happy at 8 gigs for most desktop use. You'll be fine.
The iPhone 15 is probably going to come out before the next version of the Mac Mini does, I would assume.
Yeah, they just refreshed the Mac Mini.
Yeah, that's like a once every couple of years sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so here's the problem I was going to mention earlier. So all the M1 models that are lower, so all the base, anything that's not the Pro or higher, the value on those tanked, which has never really happened on Apple before. So M1 first generation had some problems, was locked into things I think they didn't anticipate. I guess what they didn't anticipate was that people would be so excited by the perceived massive speed increase that they got for it that everyone bought them. People bought them and used them outside the spec of what they thought they would use. So like professional people are using base M1 models for the Mac Mini all the way up to the Pro MacBook Pro. Well, once they found the issues with it and the M2 came out, which is only an incremental improvement over like the exponential jump that we saw from Intel to M1 is incremental jump to the M2, but it's still a really good chip, but the price is tanked on M1 machines. And that typically doesn't happen. Like up until the M chips came out, you could still buy a 2017 MacBook Pro, like, or you could still sell it for like you're probably going to get 70% of the price that you bought it for out of it, which is unheard of in the Windows computer laptop world.
And like that you're talking about a machine that came out 3 years prior to the M1 Mini, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I sold
70% is pretty good.
Yeah, I sold for about, I gave friend discount, so it was a little bit under 50% of what I paid for it for a MacBook Pro 2012 several years ago. And yeah, so I mean, like I really felt like I got everything out of it that I could want, and they still got a good deal. But
See, you're so much nicer than me. You give friend discounts. I give friend upcharges, because if you're a friend of mine and I sell you tech, I know you're coming to my ass to help you with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of that up front.
But how many times have I asked you anything on the Mac?
Well, you're a different case, but anyone else,
and I'm
you
also,
buy something from me, you're getting screwed.
And I'm a filter because I'm not the one who uses it every day. I use it regularly, but I guess more occasionally.
You know what? Maybe I'll wait, because I think when the iPhone 15 comes along, I may switch back to iOS at that time. And that might also be a good jumping point to give the Mac Mini another try.
Yeah, I mean, I would hold out. I mean, I don't know how right I'm going to be on this, but like if you're at all interested in iPads, by that point, you're probably going to have an iPad with iPad iOS that is just as powerful it is going to be just as powerful as the Mac Mini, and also expandable to where you can plug it into a Thunderbolt port and you have a completely portable tablet computer. And if that's interesting at all to you, don't get the Mac Mini when that happens.
Well, am I going to be able to put this thing on a dock and connect a mouse and keyboard to it, and it's going to behave like Mac OS?
Not Mac OS. It's still going to be iPad iOS, but it's so close. I mean, like I can't think of the thing that you would do on your Mac OS that you couldn't do on the iPad iOS. So my daughter, my oldest one, is in college, and she has a MacBook.
Well, how about this?
Pro.
Installing applications that don't come out of the Apple App Store.
Okay, well, fine. But
that's a pretty big one. That's a big asterisk.
Yeah, but the thing is that most everything you need is going to come from there or be web-based anyway. I mean, like you're right, but I think that window is continually closing, where when you're in the Mac ecosystem, or to say the Apple ecosystem, it's not like what you just did for your Windows machine, where you just you just downloaded hackmywindows.exe and suddenly got it to work better. That doesn't happen as much on the Apple world. So that's where I'm saying that, like, I don't know if you remember, but I've always hated this. I've hated the fact that they're taking mobile and tablet and merging it all together into one OS. But we're so close to there. Like iPad iOS is so usable that my daughter's iPad Pro, she's got the case that has the keyboard and mouse on it, and I use it to try to test to see if I could do away, because I've got a Surface Pro tablet that I use, and I'd really like to just switch to an iPad just because they're thinner, they're better tablets.
It's just a better product.
Yeah, but the thing is that with my Surface Pro, I can install any Windows application I want to.
Well, yeah, so, you've got a PC in your hands.
Exactly, but when you're in the Apple world, you almost have that now with the iPad. So we're probably a couple years away from it being completely the same, but you're going to end up in a situation where Apple steals from Samsung with DeX, to where the moment you plug it into a dock, you've got Mac OS available to you. They are so close to being there now. And that's
why but you know something, they're just going to have to get past this fear of applications from third-party sources. Until they do that, you're not going to completely jump the the legacy Mac OS ship.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing that I realized. Here's my other hack that I noticed with my daughter's iPad. I've got an Azure Windows VM that I can log into from anywhere on the web with my 365 credentials. I can use her iPad to log into Azure and remote into my VM, and I've got Windows right there on my iOS, and I can access the local storage, and I can put a USB. I can plug in a USB hard drive to the USB-C port on the iPad, and I can transfer a file from my VM to that USB drive.
That's interesting.
And it's like, at that point, I've got a portal into Windows or Mac OS with I have a MacBook Pro that pretty much sits just plugged in all the time, and I can access it over the web. So like at that point, I have all the operating systems I need.
Well, you know something? There is this Open App Markets Act, which supposedly is going to, if it passes, which I don't know if it's gonna, because Silicon Valley has so much power over legislators at the federal level. But if this passes, it's going to force Apple. Well, Google doesn't really need to be forced to do anything in this regard. They already allow it. But Apple's going to be forced to allow third-party app stores, which effectively means iOS would be forced to allow the installation of apps from third-party sources. This is like, if that happened in my world, in my daily use case, the iPhone would be the only phone to bother owning. There would be no reason to own any other device if that happened, because the big thing that keeps me coming back to Android is the availability of third-party source installation, because I don't like ads on YouTube, and there's a lot of other stuff on vanilla official YouTube that I don't like that doesn't go away even if you pay for YouTube Premium. So on an Android device, I always install an app called YouTube Vanced. And it's a modified version of the YouTube APK, the YouTube installer, the YouTube app. And it allows you to eliminate ads, and it allows you to turn the display of the device off and continue listening to the audio of the video. And it allows you to skip self-promotions like, make sure you like and subscribe. I haven't heard anyone say those words on my device, and I can't tell you how long. Make sure if you like this video, you like and hit that like button and smash that subscribe. I mean, I have not heard that in so long. If someone in the middle of their video says, and that's why if you think this is for you, you probably ought to check out Squarespace, because it cuts all of that out. All
How's
that
it doing that though?
Well, it's community driven. So people who use this app are going in and flagging videos, and they're like marking the timestamps in the videos where this needs to be triggered. And it is unusual that I watch a video that does not have this crap removed.
Can we pause right there? Think about how exciting of a human being that is to hang out with, somebody who is community moderating the timestamps of a video.
That's somebody,
that means they watched it.
That's somebody who's never been in the same room with a naked woman. That is just.
I mean, like, I can't help but think about that. Because
can you imagine, like, telling people? I would be so embarrassed to even admit that I do this.
I mean, if I got paid for it, if it was my job, then I don't care. But community driven means no one's getting paid.
Nobody's getting paid.
There's three categories of people, and I get it that all three of these people are listening, if anyone's listening right now. But one would be that person who is community helping other people not have to deal with ads or the self-promotion. It's a cool feature, but like that person is a special person. Two is the person who goes in and does the TLDR of Reddit links for people. It's like, okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to click that link, but why did you do that? Because you didn't get anything out of it. And the third one is the person who puts a strike on your edit if you edit something on a Wikipedia. Like, if you want to find how quickly you can devolve into ridiculousness, edit a Wikipedia page and find out the people who are just waiting to say that you're wrong.
You know, like, I remember 10 years ago hearing a statistic that there was something like 10 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube every 30 seconds or some craziness. And I'm sure that number is just exponentially orders of magnitude larger now. And, I'm just like wondering, how are there enough people using YouTube Vanced to go in and mark these flags in these videos? Because I'm telling you, it is rare that I watch a video where this stuff is not removed.
Yeah, I mean, like so as you're going down the features, I pay for YouTube Premium, and I'm like, okay, so far I've got all that, but I don't have that, and I'd love to, because like when someone puts chapters on their video, which again, like that one, like you must be making a lot of money on your YouTube videos if you're going to stop and set up chapters on it, because I don't care. But it is nice when you put the self-promotion and the sponsored promotion in a chapter, and I can skip it because I'm going to. That is like, that hardly scratches the surface of what this does.
I can override the codec that YouTube uses and choose the codec I want to receive. I can set the default video quality rather than constantly having to go into the app and make sure that it's on 1080p or whatever. I got so sick of having to do that in the official YouTube app. I mean, you tell it, yeah, I want high quality video, and then you get in there and you're watching a video that is uploaded at 4K and it's streaming it at 720p or 1080p, and it's so frustrating to me.
Most people don't even realize if you have an unlimited plan with most of the providers, unless you're paying for the premium version, you're never getting 4K content.
Well, in T-Mobile, you actually have to go into your account and there's a toggle you have to switch to enable 4K video streaming. You can whitelist certain advertisers in this if you want. You can
NordVPN always. Let's just make sure.
Here are the things that you can remove. You can remove home ads. You can remove the general layout ads, merchandise ads. You can remove community posts. You can remove movie upsells. You can remove compact banners. You can remove comments if you chose to. You can remove compact movies. You can remove the movie shelf. You can remove surveys. You can remove the shorts shelf. You can remove community guidelines. You can disable end screens on videos. You can disable info cards in videos. You can eliminate any video watermarks. I don't really know what that feature does.
Oh yeah, you can just overlay, like you could have like your logo for your channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can remove those. Let's see. You can decide where you want the create button to be. I mean, there's like a lot. HDR max brightness. Look it up, YouTubeVanced.com, and what you've got to do is install the Vanced Manager, and then from within the Vanced Manager, you install both YouTube Vanced and YouTube Music Vanced. So not only are they giving you the ability to have a better experience than somebody who's paying for YouTube Premium, they're also giving you YouTube Music for free. I mean, it's better than the YouTube Music you would pay for because, again, it has all of this configurability. It's amazing. So this is this is the stuff that keeps me on Android, because why? I mean, well, you're stealing by having that. Oh yeah, am I? Well, how much of my information has Google sold in bad faith without telling me, without making sure that I understand exactly what's happening over the years? Much of which occurred before people were even savvy to all of this stuff, and the government started passing laws, and watchdog groups started writing articles and, you know, giving the public a heads up about what Google's doing. I mean, imagine how much of a free ride Google got in the early years before this stuff even was mainstreamed in the consciousness of the average internet user. I'm not going to shed any tears as a result of not sending money to Google. Sorry if anyone listening to this is in the business of shedding tears over that. That's your hang up, not mine.
So really quick though, have you looked
You weren't very receptive to that argument, were you? Okay, carry on.
No, sorry. I was loaded for my next thing because I was looking at some things about this Vanced app, and I'm worried about it. First, be careful where you get it from, because there are people who have fake versions that are loaded with viruses. So get it from the official source for sure.
Yes.
Which looks to be YouTubeVanced.com. But this is what I wanted to ask you. Like I was loaded to ask this, so I get what you're saying. But it looks like this, for some people, it is locking their ability to use YouTube after a while, depending on the settings. Like there's a scenario you can get into where on that device, YouTube blocks you and you can't access anything.
I have been using this for years.
Like I'm looking for the last couple days. Like, so I'm just going back to the last 3 days on the Reddit r/Vanced. And there's all these people saying, is my YouTube account broke or hacked, or why can't I see any videos anymore? and it looks like they're just like people getting the following content is not available with this app. And
so if they go to the official YouTube app, everything works suddenly?
No, that's the thing. Is on the device it doesn't work anymore. So like,
oh really? They block you at the device level?
Yeah, so on their computer it works fine when they log in, but when they do it from the phone that they had it installed, and maybe these people are downloading a version of it that's not the official, and that's where the problem was. But when I saw it kind of made me stop for a second, because like I was thinking about like, because I'm trying to put my mind in the what's the benefit for the group that builds this. Like the whole community thing we just talked about is also funny, but like, why do you build this app, put so much functionality into it, and put it out there? So I think we both agree that typically when you get that much value out of an app, which I believe you're getting all of it out of it, but you're the product, like you're what they're selling, it's not that app. So what are they getting from you by using it? And I can't even imagine what it is other than just usage data. But
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, I have Play Protect enabled on my device. It doesn't complain about the app. I have never encountered anything that led me to believe that this is a problem, ever. I've been using it for years. The only time I've, pardon me, ever paid for YouTube Premium is on an iOS device.
that makes sense, because that's what Apple's good at, is getting you to subscribe to things. Yeah, this is interesting because there's lots of people just in the last, maybe they broke it in a recent version.
Who
But,
knows? YouTubevanced.com, VANCED.com, if you want to check that out. I recommend it. Been using it for years, problem free. Now, I guess anything could change. I mean, it's probably technically a violation of the terms of service to use this. But then again, why would this be a violation of the terms of service when this could simply be considered a browser through which you're viewing YouTube? I mean, I understand that this is a modified version of the official YouTube APK file, but it's not really that much of a stretch for somebody to just rewrite it in such a way that that argument can no longer be made. At that point, it just becomes a browser, technically, through which you are viewing YouTube. And how is that any different than I open up Google Chrome, I install uBlock Origin, and I don't see any ads in the desktop YouTube experience either.
Or the YouTube downloaders, like there's so many of those.
Yeah.
All of those are blatant violations of it. And those, like, they'll get popular. Like little ones will pop up and be popular for a while and then finally get shut down and a new one is already there.
Well, then in that case, all you got to do is put the extensions feature in Chrome into developer mode, and then you can install extensions from third-party sources and keep downloading to your heart's content.
Yeah. I mean, like, I like the idea of getting rid of shorts, because I just still don't, like, other than trying to compete with TikTok poorly, I don't get it.
Well, what I hate about shorts is the number of times that you'll be watching a video and it looks like, wow, this is going to be really interesting. And then the video never pays off. Like the video ends right at the point where it's just getting to what you really wanted to see. And the whole idea, as anyone knows, is to get you to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the person who uploaded that. Well, you know what? No, fuck you. I'm not doing that. I am going to spite you just because of the tactics you are using. I am specifically not going to subscribe to your channel if you do that. And I just came to find that too many YouTubers are doing that with their shorts, and I've stopped looking at them altogether.
Yeah, well, they're being forced to, because the algorithm is gamed towards it, because my son tested this on YouTube. So he uploads Minecraft videos, and like he has a pretty steady subscribership and viewership. Like he knows what his numbers are regularly, and like he's done a couple that would go quote unquote viral, so like double or triple the number of what he normally gets, which is still very reasonable numbers. And then he decided, like, he would, I don't know if you get the emails too, where they try to push thing, or like create content with shorts. Here's how to do shorts with the YouTube creator stuff.
Yeah, I get some of that crap.
Yeah, so he tested it to see. He's like, okay, let me create a short. So he created a short of any of his other videos, just chopped it down, put it up there. He got the first video, it was like 250,000 views on it. And there wasn't even any talking or anything, and it was just him walking in Minecraft. So then he's like, okay, this is not real. Like they're obviously pushing this actively and calling views something that's not a view. So like he looked into what they describe for it, and basically if they put it on the screen, it's a view, even whether you watch it or not.
You mean if I just see it as a static tile waiting to be tapped, that's a view?
Yeah, it gets you. So it's gaming the numbers. So then he did another one
just to get you all jazzed up about it.
Yeah, so he did another one that got close to 1 million views. And so, I mean, again, he knows his subscribers, and he knows about what his video views are going to be. So there's no way these shorts got
maybe they are like replicating the TikTok algorithm, where TikTok can just like press what they're calling a heat button and make anything go viral whenever they want.
Well, it's just all these YouTube creators, which are generation 1, and then TikTokers and all that are generation 2 or 3 of it. They really only know the idea of views, and they think it translates to something else. And YouTube is just keeping them hooked on the drug by saying, do shorts, because shorts are going to make us competitive with TikTok. You don't get paid. Like it's not like he made money off of getting about 1 million views on a video. It was a short, and he's not monetized, so it didn't really matter. But you don't get paid the same level for those. It's all a trick. And so like there's hacks both directions. There's hacks you can do on YouTube to make sure you make money by making videos that you know will hit certain demographics and regional areas. Like, so if you make a video that goes viral in India and gets 10 million views, you're not going to make as much as if that video became viral in the UK. So that's already a problem. So these creators know how to make their content profit, but they are still they're hooked on the drug of their numbers. So shorts plays against that and makes them do this. So they jump through those hoops. But there's hacks the other direction, because there's another way that you can make money on videos, which is totally ridiculous, and that's Amazon video. So like people make money on the Amazon app by making short video reviews of things. So like if you're ever browsing on Amazon, and you'll see where people do video reviews, and whenever you click on them, they're the dumbest things ever, or product. Like when you're going through the different images of a product, and there'll be just a random video of somebody using it. That's like they preload that those make more money per view. So you actually do make more money if you create those short video reviews. But the same version of that on, I almost said Facebook, YouTube as a short right now it's a scam. It's a scam that they hope is going to pay off later. But yeah, these people who go and create the teaser short because Facebook, YouTube is telling them to do it. It's not what they think it's going to be.
Well, you know, something as hateable as TikTok is, there's a part of me that enjoys watching Google panic.
Yeah. Well, competition is always good.
Yeah, it is rather enjoyable. Before we get out of here, I guess I'll go ahead and play this.
And it's the end of an era for Microsoft's Internet Explorer. The company announced Microsoft Edge with IE mode, officially replacing Internet Explorer 11. The tech giant permanently disabled the Odor web browser on its desktops. Internet Explorer debuted in 1995 as a part of Windows 95, and at one point commanded 95% of the market. Users who click on the icon are now being redirected to Microsoft Edge.
Isn't it amazing how Microsoft just got sued into the dirt by the feds over Internet Explorer, and then you juxtapose that with what tech companies are doing now in terms of anti-competitive practices, whether it's Apple and not allowing third-party applications to be installed on their devices, not allowing third-party app stores, having a monopoly over all of the revenue that's generated on their devices, which in my opinion are not their devices once they are purchased by a consumer. I now own that device, although I'm sure there's some, there's some text somewhere that has, protected them in this regard. But I just really enjoy seeing them panic over TikTok, and it's hilarious to me watching how they're getting away with so much stuff right now that Microsoft just got sued into the dirt over. Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates being called to testify before Congress. The SEC, no, it wasn't the SEC. It was the
Well, they had
FTC.
No, you're right. No,
FTC.
Yeah.
They had to go testify. I mean, it was craziness. And then fast forward into the future, look at what they get away with, and nobody thinks anything of it. And, I heard John Dvorak make the point a few years ago that the feds have just totally gotten out of the business of consumer protection. It's not a thing anymore. Consumer protection, which used to be what people thought was maybe one of the primary purposes of government, that is just not a thing anymore. So if you think it is, if you think bad behavior on the part of big tech is in any way going to be mitigated by government action, forget about it. They're just not in that business anymore. And why would they be? I mean, we're talking about companies that have market values of multiple trillions of dollars now. Do you think that your interests can ever compete with that? No.
Here's the thing, too. With that, all these people who are in the Fed right now, those are the jobs they want when they leave. So that's a problem.
Yeah, there's that, too.
And then second, go back and, so ironically, go Google search for any time like the FTC or the SEC have fined a company for anti-competitive or market manipulation practices, and they get these huge $1 million fines, millions of dollars. Those don't go, they don't offset like the tax revenue that the government gets in. That's just money on top for them. It almost never comes back.
And if those fines are generated as a result of consumers being victimized in some way, that money doesn't go to the consumers that were victimized. Right. It just goes to the government. Oh, yeah, we're sorry you guys got screwed. We're going to make them pay for it, though. It's like when I'm watching someone piss and moan about how the rich don't pay enough taxes, and I'm just listening to this, and they think that there's some magical fairy tale land of gumdrops that's going to immediately reveal itself when a wealth tax gets implemented. And I'm just looking at that thinking, how is your life going to improve because some rich guy is paying more in taxes? I can't think of any way that your life is going to improve even one iota, not in any conceivable, measurable way whatsoever. And the reason I know that is primarily because I see how the government behaves when a consumer class is victimized in some way, and the government collects a bunch of money to punish the perpetrator, and the victimized class of people are in no way compensated through that money that's collected. That is the philosophy that guides how money moves from one hand to the other when the government's collecting it, and the motivations behind why it's collected, how it's handled once it's collected. It's not going to help you in any way whatsoever. So I don't know. It's time to go. Yeah. You know what? It's time to go.
Well, really quick with that, it's the same idea as when someone says take $1 billion and spread it out across all of America. Well, how many dollars are you actually getting in that? It's not a lot.
Again, yeah. I mean, if it were like spread out, let's say there's a wealth tax and the billionaires who have just countless billions of dollars tucked away wherever, a lot of which is going to be offshore and not even touchable by the feds anyway, because these people didn't become billionaires by being stupid and leaving their money in this country. But I mean, let's say you confiscate all of that, all of it. You confiscate all of it. A few years ago, there was a statistic that it's going to be enough to fund the federal government's budget for like 3 months. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, it's it's an insignificant amount of money. It's not going to make any difference in your life. Just as when big tech victimizes you and the government collects, they're not going to use that to enhance your life in any way whatsoever, which is why we are not being protected as consumers. I'm Michael. He's Curtis. This is This Secure? Take a look at the website, isthisSecure.com. See ya.
Till next time.